Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video we're going to be going over 3 deck lists for the upcoming Clashground events for the Alpha Clash TCG, talk about how they synergize with the event card, kind of go over some key packages of cards that I thought were really cool, and hopefully give you some inspiration as you make your decks for these upcoming events. But if you're new to the channel, welcome, thank you so much for stopping by, hopefully enjoy your stay. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Discord down below, as well as the channel membership and the creator worksheet. It's early in the morning, I apologize. Creator worksheet. So thank y'all so much for stopping by. Couple of disclaimers. One, on a personal note, for some weird reason, I'm having a trouble breathing. I don't know why. I'm having to draw my breath a lot the last day. I don't know if I'm getting sick or what. So if I do that during the video, I apologize. Two more things. Second one is, this is my first time kind of doing a pseudo deep dive on some Alpha Clash decks for events. So if you're an Alpha Clash player and you see this, please give me some feedback in the comments. It can be good, bad, or indifferent. It's totally fine. I am okay with it. I have a more fun approach to deck building in Alpha Clash for a reason, so I always welcome that feedback. The third thing is, my cat Kaiju is playing with my cat Maverick. So if you hear a cat screaming in the background, the cat is fine, I promise. He just won't be quiet. I tried to do a video and I got like 20 minutes into this video just a minute ago, and I just gave up because he would not shut up. But I have given them toys and put them in the corner, so hopefully they are okay after that. But thank y'all so much for bearing with me for some of those mini announcements. So getting into it, there are 2 major upcoming events in the Alpha Clash TCG. We have Clashground Makati in September over in the APAC region, and then we have the Pro Tour in Tennessee at ClashCon in October. They revealed the event card for these 2 events. So for anyone that's not aware, in the Alpha Clash TCG for major events, they do what's called event cards. These are basically start and play, stay and play cards that each player has access to, and they have the safeguard keyword, which basically means they can't be taken out by opponents' effects. They can't be targeted. So it basically keeps them on the field for the most part. These event cards are meant to shake up the meta. They're meant to give buffs, nerfs, changes to things that force different deck building and really keep things fresh and fun, and also open up possibilities for other contenders that may have just been, taken out by a more just standard meta, so to speak. So this event card is a relic accessory, and it has 3 key abilities. The first one says, while you control a Clashground, your contender gets +1 offense. So in this game, your contenders can swing, or they have health. They have 30 health, but you can also swing with them like you would a creature or a Clash card. Some contenders have a normal stat line like 1-0. That's the typical one. Then you have offensive contenders like Magnate and Indomitable Will that really care about swinging out for big numbers. They have 2-0, but they don't have any defense, obviously. And then you have contenders like Paul, which don't normally swing for anything, but they use their own ability to keep other things alive. So they have 1 defense instead of 1 offense. So as you can see, when you control a Clashground, for a contender like Magnate and Indomitable Will, all of a sudden you're swinging for 3-0. When you combine that with Clashgrounds like somewhere in San Francisco that says contenders get +1 offense, all of a sudden your Magnate is now swinging for 4-0, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Really exciting. When you have cards like Paul, though, it kind of helps out a lot, because with the new event card, Paul is a 1-1 when you have a Clashground in play. When you combine other prevention effects that Paul can do defensively, all of a sudden you have a contender that can bite back a little bit, but also has really good defense, right? So that's how that affects the game a little bit. The second one is, there's that breath again. The second one is, the first time each turn a Clashground you control comes into play, draw a card. So this is more draw engine. Like every TCG in the world, drawing cards is powerful. In this game specifically, there's actually quite a few Clashgrounds that say either when they enter or leave play, draw a card. Like Amazon Rainforest, one of the biggest cards in the green color for Alpha Clash. Trigger enter, you may draw a card. So you'll draw a card for Amazon Rainforest, and you'll draw a card because of the event card. Drawing 2 cards is very, very good, right? We love Pot of Greed. So that's a really big thing. And then finally, counter attack. This is for when you don't control a Clashground. Counter attack, engage. You can engage this card if an opponent controls a Clashground. Target Clash card you have get super speed, or just target clash card in general gets super speed until end of turn. So this allows you to have a little bit more defensive prowess. Super speed is first strike basically, so you're able to hit your opponent's card before they hit yours. So if they're trying to take out one of your clash cards with one of theirs, you possibly could win the battle before it even officially starts. Really, really good. So I have 3 contenders here: Kagan, Magnate Indomitable Will, and Paul. The first one's Kagan. We're not going to go card by card, but I am going to talk about packages and like why I chose these contenders. So Kagan is a weapon-focused deck, specifically contender weapons. He cares about attaching a bunch of different weapons to him and then swinging out and hitting the opponent for a lot of damage. He's very much a mid-range combo deck, in my opinion, and we'll kind of talk about why here in a second. So the first time you play or attach a contender weapon during your turn, you may draw 1 card. So if you can play a contender weapon and then play a Clashground, you're drawing 2 cards in a turn, right? When you combine that with Amazon Rainforest, you might be drawing 3 cards in a turn. Super, super powerful, as long as your opponent can't interact with you in some way. This card may attach up to 4 contender weapons with different names. So what does that mean? Then you have the second. We'll go over the second ability first. Then you have the 15 health ability, which adds on once you get to 15 life. Once per turn during your primary phase, you can engage this card, choose a contender weapon in your Oblivion. Until the end of turn, you may play it without paying its resource cost. So you basically don't have to play its attached cost in order to get it back onto Kagan, which is really, really good. So Kagan's whole thing is using... He has 4 main weapons. Obviously, you can use other ones, but the main ones that people use are Fire Mace, Flame Shield, Dragon Scale Armor, and then finally Dragon Helm. And we'll go over what each one does. Fire Mace says once you play it and attach it, it costs 3 total resources to get it onto Kagan. The attached contender gets trigger attack. This card gets 1/0 until end of turn. So as you can see, when you combine that with the Clashground buff that you'll get, Kagan could potentially be swinging for 3/0 as long as Fire Mace is attached to it, which is really good, right? You're starting to get really good offensive value from your contender, which is really powerful. You have cards like Flame Shield, which will help keep your Clash cards alive. Counter attack, so when your opponent attacks you, you may only activate this effect when an opponent attacks a Clash card you control. You may send this attached contender weapon to the Oblivion. If you do, send target attacking Clash card to the Oblivion. So if they're swinging at your Clash card and you're trying to keep that alive for whatever reason, you can get rid of a Flame Shield, and that'll allow you to do that. The third one, Dragon Scale Armor, costs 5 total to get onto Kagan for good reason. If the attached contender loses health during an opponent's turn, attached contender and Clash cards you control get 1 defense until end of turn. This is again really good when you start combining it with either of these abilities. If you control a Clash card, and Kagan gets hit, or Clashground, then it's going to get +1 offense from the Clashground already, so Kagan's at a 2/0, and then all of a sudden it's going to get +1 defense from Dragon Scale Armor, so it's a 2/1, which is really, really powerful. If you don't own a Clashground, then you're going to have a card that could potentially have super speed on it from the event card that also has 1 extra defense. Really, really good. And then finally you have Dragon Helm. This is the Exodia combo card. Basically, if you control Dragon Helm, Flame Shield, Dragon Scale Armor, and Dragon Scale Armor, Flame Shield, Fire Mace, and Dragon Helm all at once on Kagan. This is why he can attach 4 weapons with different names. You're able to, once per turn, make a 10-10 flyer. It's super, super powerful, right? Like, that's the Exodia combo. So that's what you're trying to do on the Kagan side of things. You also have Clash buffs like Dragon Heart, which are really good. When you play this, if you control a Clashground, Kagan's going to be swinging for 5/2 because it's going to get 2/2 from Dragon Heart and 1/0 from the Clashground. Super, super good. And you're also able to potentially go get a card from your deck, because look at the top 3 cards. You may reveal a non-Clash card from among them. Usually it's a weapon, and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck. So that's how that synergy kind of works. The other green stuff is just kind of good synergy stuff that helps reduce the cost of your weapons for the most part. And then you have Kagan, the dragon, one of the most iconic cards in the game, right? For Clashgrounds, we're using Amazon Rainforest. This allows you to draw a card on enter and draw a card from the event card. So you're drawing 2 when it enters, and then you're able to draw 2, discard 1 on each draw step. So you're filtering through your deck really quickly, getting to what you need to get to. The other one is New York City. This one is just my fun card. I love this card. Not all of my cards are alpha cards. I have some discarded in here. I have some Harbinger, but I just like this card. You could obviously swap this out with another green or black even Clashground that might make more sense. But New York City is just something I enjoy. Again, that's a personal pick. When it comes to the splash of black in the deck, the reason I chose what I chose is just general utility and Clashground Hate. When it comes to Clarity of the Bad Omen and Clarity from the Shadows, I think these two cards are just like two of the best general utility cards you can have in the game in any given deck. If you're not trying to tech into anything, but you're trying to have good utility into everything, so to speak, these two cards are good. Clarity Bad Omen is exclusive, which means only one could be on the field at a time. If an effect an opponent controls would have them draw a card outside of their draw step, that player may only draw that card if they engage a resource. So if they want to use this extra draw engine from the new event card, they're going to have to pay more to do it. I think that's really powerful. Then you have Clarity from the Shadows. Trigger defeat. If it dies, then you have to send a Clash card you control to Oblivion. That's a downside. The major upside, though, is during your primary phase, you may engage this card. If you do, send target Clash card to Oblivion. There is no like stipulation. I could, if my opponent controls a Kagan the Dragon, and I play this card and then engage it, then bye-bye Kagan. It's super, super good. It's basically, if your opponent has any Clash card care, like they care about Clash cards at all in their deck, this is an automatic, we need to get rid of this right now. Cards like Fire or Flame Shield help prevent this card from going away easier, which makes it a little bit better and has some cool synergies with that. Then we have our Clashground Hate. Now, if your opponent really cares about getting Clash Grounds on the field, maybe they're playing something like a Magnate Indomitable Will and they're trying to get as much offensive value as they can. Cards like Morak on the Hunt is really good. When it enters, you may send a Clash Ground they control with cost 3 or less to the Oblivion, or you use a card like Trug that says players can't play Clash Grounds. So if I play this and I own a Clash Ground, something like, let's say, not Dragonheart, an Amazon Rainforest, and then you play Trug, until they get rid of Trug, they can't play a Clash Ground. So I just have that permanent 1-0 buff. Now, they get the super speed buff, so that's something you have to weigh, but I thought this was pretty good. It's a good first initial draft for Kagan. Super happy with it. Definitely give it a try. Let me know what changes you would make. Again, New York City is kind of a personal choice. It's definitely not probably the most optimal choice. It's just a card I enjoy. So definitely feel free to give others a shot. The next one is a very offensive-minded pick. And honestly, if I was picking for sheer competitive play, I would pick Magnate Indomitable Will because I would just try to kill my opponents in like turn 3 or 4. So Magnate Indomitable Will is a 2-0 contender, very offensive-minded. Whenever this card becomes the target of a non-clash buff action card you control, it gets 1 defense until end of turn. If an opponent controls 3 or more Clash cards, this card may not attack that opponent's contender. So you have to keep Clash cards at bay, and that's why we have the red splash. We'll talk about that here in a second. At the start of your turn, choose one at 15 health. If this contender gets breakthrough or close combat, so a decent buff. So the whole point of using this contender is just to stack action cards on this contender and make it combined with the Clash Ground buff. It just swings for a gajillion, right? Like in an ideal world, you know, you have Magnate Indomitable Will at 2-0. You play something like Somewhere in San Francisco, which says contenders get 1-0. Whenever this card leaves play, you draw a card. So it's coming in for 3-0, and then it gets the buff since you control a Clash Ground. So it's coming in for 4-0 when you play Somewhere in San Francisco. And then maybe you buff it with a, let's see, I'll just say Diabolical Plan. Target Magnate contender Clash card gets 2-0 until end of turn. If that contender Clash card deals damage to an opponent's contender, draw a card. So for 3 resources, you can play Somewhere in San Francisco. It'll get 2 offense basically. 1 from the event card, 1 from Somewhere in San Francisco. It's coming in for 4-0. Then you play Diabolical Plan onto your contender, giving it 2-0, so it's coming in for 6-0. It then gets 1 defense from Magnate Indomitable Will's own ability. It's coming in for 6-1. Then you swing at your opponent, it's contender, hit them, as long as you can swing at them and it doesn't get obstructed, hit them, and then all of a sudden you dealt 6 damage to them and you draw a card from Diabolical Plan. So without even putting a Clash card down, I was able to swing for 6 damage, which depending on the contender you play against, that's literally like a 5th of their health, or a 4th of their health potentially almost if they're a 25 health hero. So super, super cool. You can already see kind of the synergies that involve with this. So we have a lot of basic action cards to help trigger Magnate Indomitable Will's first ability. Cards like Magnate Gamma Spear, Burning Fortitude, Diabolical Plan, Final Expedition. All of these cards, you know, that non-clash buff action card that trigger Magnate's ability. You have some defensive-minded ones like Burning Fortitude that says counterplay, prevent the next 1 damage that we've been dealt to target contender this turn. That contender gets 1-0 until end of turn. So if they play a clash card, you figure they're going to swing with it. You play this at instant speed, basically, and it gives your Indomitable Will +1 defense. Then it gets an additional +1 defense from its own ability. So all of a sudden, Magnate Indomitable Will is a 2/2, which is very good when it's trying to prevent some damage, right? You then have cards like I'm Unstoppable, which give the target Magnate contender or Magnate clash card 1-0 until end of turn and can't be obstructed, and lets you draw cards. So you have some offensive value stuff. So that's kind of go there. So then you talk about the one downside to Indomitable Will is it can be obstructed, right? Or it can, if your opponent spams the board with a bunch of clash cards, and all of a sudden it can't swing onto your opponent's contender, which is what you want to do. So you need some board wipe. You need some ways to manage your opponent's clash cards. And so I splashed red in there for that purpose. One, I splashed red because I want to play somewhere in San Francisco. This card's stupid with the event card. But the Torque package is probably your most go-to, right? Being able to play Torque the Uncontrollable and then use cards like Solar Smash and Here Comes the Boom to buff it. Solar Smash is a good way to get rid of one of your opponent's clash cards if you need to, or you can help buff Torque the Uncontrollable with it. Boom is your obvious play, right? If you can get a Torque the Uncontrollable down, you play Here Comes the Boom, deal 5 damage to all clash cards, wipe everything, and then you swing Torque the Uncontrollable for 6-7 on your opponent, then swing Indomitable Will for 2, right? Can be really, really good. So you're swinging it then for 8 while, like, wiping the board. You also have cards like Gamma Fire, which can be a pseudo board wipe depending on the game state. Whenever an attached contender attacks, you may engage this card. If you do, deal 1 damage to all clash cards defending player controls. You may send this card to the Oblivion if you deal 3 damage instead. So really good for a board wipe there. And then we have our late game hitters like Magnate Lone Fighter and Kagana the Dragon. So what you're basically trying to do, buff this dude for 1 billion, swing with him, and then use the red splash and Gamma Fire in order to control the board so you can continue to swing with Indomitable Will. So there's that. Then we have the Bounty Contender. This is for specifically Makati because Paul is not a Bounty Contender at the Pro Tour, but I think Paul's still a really solid option if you want to utilize these buffs in a more defensive manner. So Paul's really cool. Paul can obstruct for his clash cards. He also has an ability that says as long as you control an engaged clash card, this card, meaning Paul, may not be the target for the first declared attack on the opponent's turn. So what you're trying to do is swing with something or engage like high value clash card like a Clarity from the Shadows, and then your opponent's wanting to deal with it, and then you can either 2 things can happen. Either you could have something like Clarity from the Shadows on the field, engage it to get rid of one of your opponent's clash cards, and then your opponent's like, okay, I need to put something down and kill it. So they try to do that, but then you can obstruct from the shadows with Paul the Waiter. There goes my cat Kaiju, if you can hear him in the background. The other thing you can do is just swing, a high value offensive card, maybe a clash card that has a weapon attached to it, and then your opponent's trying to take that out, and you can use Paul to keep it alive. It has trigger obstruct, reveal the top card of your deck. If a non-trap accessory is revealed this way, prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to this contender. Otherwise, prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt. Then you draw that card. So you're able to swing with something or engage something for offensive value. Then on their turn, you block the first attack that they try to do because it can't go towards Paul with Paul, and then be able to get some defensive value as well. So a couple things that we can look at on synergies we're trying to do. The first one, we're putting somewhere in San Francisco in the deck. When you combine this with the event card, Paul is all of a sudden a 2/1 when this is in play. When you combine that 2/1 stat line with Paul's ability to prevent damage on himself when he obstructs, he could be preventing/stopping 3 damage on attack, which is very, very good, while also hitting back for a little bit, which could be useful depending on the game state. So there's that. The other kind of big thing is what we're trying to do is basically in the early game, we're trying to control the board. We're using stuff like Sharpshooter Moxie. We're using stuff like Tactical Vest, which is really good. Attached contender gets 1 defense. At the start of your turn, unattach this card. It can only be attached to an Alpha Hunter or Rogue contender. So attached to Paul, with in the perfect world, you have this attached to Paul with a Somewhere in San Francisco in play. You're basically getting +2 offense from the event card and your Clashground, and then you're getting +1 defense from Tactical Vest, so Paul is now a 2/2. Very, very good for early game defense, right? Then you have Sharpshooter Moxie to get rid of some of those pesky early drops. You have cards like Clarity from the Shadows to manage their board, cards like Clarity Bad Omen to manage their card draw, and then you also have defensive cards even like Paul and Patiently Waiting. Just good cards that you can use to obstruct with to keep yourself alive. You then have offensive-minded cards even in the early game, like Moxie Recruiting the Best, in order to just swing at your opponent, get that badge weapon down, and be able to utilize it for something else. And then you're playing for this late game where you're basically going to try to get cards like Paul Helping Out and keep them on the field. Paul Helping Out, and what Paul Helping Out does is trigger attack, attach target weapon you control to another Alpha Hunter Clash card you control without paying that weapon's attach cost. So if you can get like a Moxie's Power Armor down with, like, let's say a Paul Helping Out, and let's just say, heck, even a Moxie Recruiting the Best, and you swing with Paul Helping Out, you can then attach Moxie's Heavy Power Armor to Moxie Recruiting the Best, and all of a sudden it's going to get 4/4 in flight from Moxie's Heavy Power Armor, meaning it's swinging for a 7/5. And then your opponent, what your opponent wants to do is, like, you just swung 7/5 with Moxie Recruiting the Best, and since it's engaged and Paul Helping Out's engaged, your opponent is in this really weird spot because their first attack has to go into a Clash card. It can't go into Paul. So they can't just go face and try to kill you. Then when they do attack one of these cards, you just obstruct with Paul anyway. And when you have stuff like Tactical Vest, stuff like Somewhere in San Francisco, the buff from the event card, you can kind of get into this play loop where you're just swinging for a bunch on your opponent in the mid to late game and then preventing them from stopping your threats. This deck is a little bit susceptible to just strict removal, so there are ways you can do that. There are cards that even aren't in this deck, like the Black Clashground that allows you to bring cards back, stuff like that. Being able to bring stuff back from Oblivion is very, very nice. Paul does have a second ability at 12 life that says during your primary phase you may engage this card if you do attach a weapon you control with an initial resource cost of 4 or less to an Alpha Hunter or Rogue Clash card you control without paying its attach cost. So in the late game, you can use cards like Suit Up, which lets you put a weapon into your accessory zone from your hand and then attach a weapon without paying its cost. So you could, like, let's just say in a perfect world, you have 3 resources up and you have 2 Moxie's Heavy Power Armors in your freaking hand. You could, or 1 in your hand, 1 on the field. You could literally play a Suit Up, put the second Power Armor down, attach it to something for free. Then you engage Paul, attach the second Power Armor to something else for free, and then swing for a punch. You can just do some really dumb stuff. So that's kind of where I am with this. The other late game good stuff is like War Second Horseman. The only other thing that's like anti-synergistic that I just wanted to have access to, I'll always like having a late game flyer if my opponent chooses to not have the tools to deal with it. So I did put the 5/5 flare in there, but you could change it out for something else. You also have Clash Grounds like Subway cards I think are very good. You may search your deck for a weapon without unrivaled in its initial resource costs for 1 or less and reveal it. Shuffle your deck. So if you want to go get a Tactical Vest, it's really good for that. And just kind of like be able to stack those things onto Paul and at least have them available at the very least. So I really like this deck as well. Paul's just really fun. There's a bunch of different ways you can take this Contender, but I think it's kind of a sleeper pick. People already liked Paul before this event card, and I think the event card giving certain things like super speed I think is really, really good, right? Like if you can get even something like a Clarity from the Shadows, let's not even like talk about any other craziness, right? Let's say you're playing against a Kagan, and the Kagan puts down this one, Kagan Armored Assailant, just so they can try to get rid of this Clarity from the Shadows. Let's say you don't own a Clashground. Well, the first attack, you can obstruct the Paul. Then if they put down like another one of these guys, or they put down, heck, like, I don't know, another Clarity from the Shadows or any other thing that's going to trade, basically. Then the super speed mechanic, if you don't own a Clashground, you can give the Clarity from the Shadows super speed and then potentially keep it alive even longer. So there's some cool things you can do. But yeah, these are the 3 decks. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. I tried not to go too in depth. I tried to keep it as open as I could, but I'm really excited about this. These are just draft zeros. Feel free to take them, copy them, change them however you want. Just trying to give a little bit of inspiration overall. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening. Doing the deck profiles and Alpha Clash is something I'm not as used to, so I'm definitely going to get better at it as time goes on. But hopefully you do enjoy this. Hopefully my cats weren't going nuts in the background. They probably were, probably going all around me. But thank you all so much. I appreciate y'all. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Give me any feedback on the video that you can. Be kind to each other, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank you all so much.